Live streaming is on.
Okay.
So
Now,
works quite smoothly. We started too early. I see your screen live. We are live.
yes.
However, I think it's weird. It started counting at 1 hour 27. Do you see that at the top? Let me head over to YouTube.
Now, I'm trying to see whether I can have both the presentation and the other screen. Let me see if I can have both. I should be able to do that. So I'll try to extend to my other screen. Okay, now I have two screens, and I want to try and see both the presentation and this screen. Let me see that we can do that. Do you see me scroll over the slides?
No, I'm seeing you to the right. Hold on, I'll just make. Oh, wait, I can give you the live stream link.
Oh, that might be good.
Then you will see yourself. But where do I see the link? At stream marker share, I guess this is it. So I'm posting it here on the chat.
Got it. Let me see if I scroll here. Okay, it takes a bit. It's good that I see when you see my next slide, because otherwise, so when I pass to the next slide, it takes a second or so.
Can you say when you click to the next slide?
Yeah, I will tell you. So I'm clicking now to the next slide.
It seems immediate to me.
No, you are still on the previous one. In the now I see the next one.
Customers. I think the lag is on YouTube. So maybe just say once more.
Okay, clicking.
Success stories, pictures.
Pictures. Okay, so you see it immediately. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So if it is only on YouTube, and I will ignore that. I can use the link to YouTube to share with colleagues, right?
Yeah, sure.
I can send it now.
I posted the link on the meetup site also.
Okay, so I will send it now to to whoever wants to join.
Okay, seems to work smoothly here.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else we need to consider?
No, I think that we're fine. Again, I'm going through the slides to see that it works. You probably see the next slide, the second one. Yeah, and it takes a bit on YouTube, but that's not an issue.
Yeah. What did I want to ask? Oh yeah, should I? Do you want to take questions immediately at the end, or should I ask the audience about that?
I can take questions immediately. I mean, it might be
Okay.
that I would like, to conclude a slide, but no need to wait till the end unless I see that I'm in time pressure, in which case I might ask to delay some of the questions.
Yeah. We said overall 90 minutes is, I think, is that the presentation or together with discussion?
I can do both. I mean, I'm okay with usually you drift more than 90, or if you do that, then people start feeling bored.
Yeah. So maybe let's aim for 90 minutes with a few, probably there will be a few discussions in the middle. Sometimes at the C++ user group, it used to go very detailed into discussion. And I think that is pretty cool. But then maybe it's better if you say, let's pick it up afterwards. And then the hardcore people will stay after 90 minutes, but we won't bore those who are not as hardcore.
Okay, that's good. I'm with you on that.
I think that's a good plan, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to start with some words on your side, or I just start?
I would say I'll do some organizational stuff, but that's, I don't know, 2 minutes maybe.
Okay, and
then I introduce you and then that's it.
That's okay. Do you want me to keep the slides shared, or you need the screen?
I don't need the screen.
Okay,
I think that's fine. Let's keep it simple.
Okay, good. And are we recorded also?
So you see the YouTube, that's exactly how it is recorded.
Okay.
And afterwards, the live stream will just stay on YouTube.
The same thing that I see here is you don't need to edit or something. No editing.
I can edit it, and actually, so I'm confused because here on Jitsi I'm seeing that the meeting is already running for 1 hour 36, but on YouTube it looks like it's not attached to the old video. So I might have to do some editing, but probably not.
Okay.
And actually, there is also, let me go here.
Just to make sure, if it started 1 hour earlier, just to make sure that it will not just stop in the middle.
Yeah, let's hope so.
If you want to check that ad.
That would be a pity, yeah. But so I see 2 are watching already now. It's probably you and me. I don't see any time limit here, and I think there is no time limit on Jitsi too. So I think we're good. And actually, there's also a chat in Jitsi as well as on YouTube. So I think I'll monitor that, and if I see some question which seems urgent, then I'll just chime in, so you don't have to watch the chat.
Okay.
Okay. So usually it's like 50% coming in online meetings, sometimes even just 30%. So let me check. But I do hope it's more. I mean, I think you're a good speaker, and I also think I introduced you well. So let's hope the attendee percentage will be higher. So I guess 15. So let's wait a bit longer. Oh, and now we are, of course, have to check also the attendees on YouTube. Consider. It seems like people are having difficulties to join in. At least some people are dropping out all the time. Let me see if there is some message on. I don't see a complaint on Meetup. I'll quickly ask a question on Meetup whether there is a problem. So I just got a response from someone who seems to be watching now on YouTube. So I hope people will join in. Let's wait another few minutes, and then, I mean, I'm starting with organizational stuff anyway, so it will be another 5 minutes or so until you can start the presentation then. I'm not seeing Shmuel yet either. Amir, did he say? I think he doesn't have time. He wants to see it afterwards, I think.
Right. He's teaching, I think, a course.
Yeah. It's good that actually that you're remote, because in person it's difficult to prepare a good presentation for afterwards. If someone is asking in the room a question, then it's bad audio, for instance, or you start writing something on the whiteboard or stuff like that. So I guess being remote has the advantage that the video will be very good, well consumable afterwards. So if I compute correctly, 3 plus 1 minus plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people right now. So I would slowly start with the organizational stuff. So welcome to the C++ User Group Karlsruhe. It's been a while. We do have occasionally these group meetings, roundtables. But the last presentation was a while ago. If you have some topic, please approach me anytime. I'm very happy to host the meeting. I'm quite busy right now, so I'm right now not actively asking people, but I'm very happy if I'm being approached. And if you want to contribute with organizational stuff, maybe organize a local roundtable, or actually do acquisition of talks and approach people. Maybe you have someone in mind you always wanted to hear, then you can also ask me. I'm very happy if someone helps me out with the organizational stuff. So I see people are dropping in. I'm very happy about that. So before I head over to you, Amir, we just discussed how to handle questions. And if there are, if you have any questions, especially if they are urgent ones to the current slide, just feel free to either write in the chat. I'll be watching the chat on the side, or even open your mic or raise your hand, and then we can do that interactively. If we are going too deeply into details, or if the discussion is taking too long, we are very happy about discussions, so we will not stop the discussion or abort the discussion. We will then just postpone the discussion to after the talk, which will be roughly 90 minutes. So hardcore people can stay and pick up the discussion then and go further into detail then. Yeah, and I think that's it about the organizational stuff. So I mentioned before, Amir Kirsh is the one giving the talk today. He's quite versed in giving C++ talks. He's a regular speaker at CppCon. He's also a lecturer and a developer advocate at Incredibuild. So I'm very happy to have you here, Amir. And he'll be talking about C++ corner cases and rabbit holes, and also look into how ChatGPT can help us with those difficult cases. Amir, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So let's start. A few words about myself. I think that I was introduced, but maybe let's do it quickly. I'm a lecturer at the Academic College of Tel-Aviv-Yaffo and Tel-Aviv University, visiting lecture this year at Stony Brook University, developer advocate at Incredibuild. I will have a few words about Incredibuild and why I think it is important that you will check our products. We can assist you in expediting your development. I'm a member of the Israeli ISO C++ national body and a co-organizer of the CoreCpp conference, which, by the way, takes place this June in Tel Aviv. So if you want to check out both having professional, great C++ content and visiting Tel Aviv this year, early June, you can find it under CoreCpp.org. Incredibuild, if you ever never heard about us, so we do build acceleration. If you're suffering from slow CI pipeline, and this is a problem with C++, I mean, it may happen with other environments, but C++ do suffer with this problem. We do build acceleration by distributing your build into the cloud or into idle machines in your environment, which at the end is not only more efficient, it actually affects your dev cycles and productivity in a way that you can be more quickly in terms of time to market, find bugs earlier, etc. A short list of Epi customers include many customers in many domains, in the embedded domain, in automotive, in algo trading, gaming industry, and much more. Maybe I will add that we have invested a lot in the automotive industry in the recent years, which is highly using C++. So we are also in Yocto, QNX, and other embedded Linux environments. And if you're there, feel free also to approach. My email appears at the end of this talk, so you can directly approach me, or you can go to Incredibuild site if you have questions on that. And now, without further ado, let's continue to the topic of today, which is C++ incidental explorations. And I'm not talking here about incidents, even if the term sounds like, oh, we will discuss incidents. No, we are going to discuss Q&A discussions, mainly from Stack Overflow, as a way to explore C++. And another name for this talk might have been C++ associative explorations, because I'm going to be quite associative. I'm going to start with something, then have some association for, oh, I have something else, of course, that relates to some certain topic in C++. But associative is something also that have other meanings. So people may think about associative containers. Maybe this is why I called it incidental explorations. So why I love Stack Overflow? Let's start with that. I mean, the discussion is going to be focused a lot on questions and answers in Stack Overflow. And the reason that I love Stack Overflow is that I learn a lot from that. I learn when I'm trying to explore something, when I don't have the answer. And I learn also when I am answering questions myself. In some cases, I see a question, I think that I have the answer, and while working on writing the answer, I see that, oh, I'm not sure that I have it fully, and I have to explore furthermore, and I'm learning by answering others' questions. So I want to start with an example of something like that, which is my first item, a chrono tutorial that I had with Howard Hinant. Howard Hinant is the man behind, if you know, Move Semantics. He's one of the persons, the leader, I would say, of adding Move Semantics into C++ 11, R value in Move Semantics. But he is also the person behind Stud Chrono, the Chrono library. And there was a question in Stack Overflow about the Chrono library, asking something about using modulo in order to check something, whether a certain point of time arrived. And when I saw this question, I said to myself, well, I think that I know what is the answer, or at least I think that I can help this person asking the question. So I came up with, okay, I think this is the code that you need, and posted that as an answer. And I can tell you that usually it is common that in Stack Overflow you do not just post a piece of code, you explain it. But the reason that I just posted the piece of code aiming for I will add explanation in a moment later on was that usually in Stack Overflow more than one person is working on the answer simultaneously. So it might be that while I'm working on the answer, there is somebody else who is also writing a similar piece of code. And I want to say, oh, I'm already on that. So if anybody is on that, he will know, she will know that, oh, there is somebody already on the question. Otherwise, you might work on something, and before you submit, you see that somebody else already answered that, which is a bit frustrating. So in order to catch the question, I just posted, okay, this is the code that I think solves your issue. But then I got a comment from not the original poster, not the one that asked the question, but another Stack Overflow enthusiast saying this answer would be better if you explained why. Well, I know I'm going to explain, but I just wanted to be quick in order to catch the question, in order to be the first one coming with some code, and then I will continue. So I, was on the work on, okay, I'm adding now explanation. But then in between, somebody came in and asked a question about the original question in a comment added on top of the question, and the person was Howard Hinant. And the question was, oh, what are you trying to achieve? What is the first error that you get? And then when I see Howard Hinant on the page, I answered to this person asking, oh, we need explanation. Well, I would try to add explanation, but now having Howard Hinant on the page, it makes me a bit cold feet. But at least if I do something wrong, I have somebody to watch over. And I went to the explanation. I added the explanation. And when I added the explanation, I got a comment from our tenant saying, "Oh, you're doing fine, but can you rewrite it without using count?" Now, this is something that I want to explain. In the code in the piece of code that I posted, I was using chrono in a way that eventually I need to do some math operation on duration, on time duration. And in order to do this math operation, I want to convert the time duration to a number so I can perform the math operation on this number. And this was wrong. I mean, it compiles, it works, but it is wrong because it breaks the type safety which is provided with Chrono. And the idea of type safety is very important, and this is the thing that I want to focus here on. What, in a way, I learned, I knew, but I missed. I knew, but in a way I was not careful enough. When you call count on time duration, you get back something which doesn't hold any measurement unit. It is just a number. And working with numbers is the bad thing that Chrono tries to avoid, which is something that we need to consider also with other types that we use. I mean, it would be much better to work with distance that carries its measurement unit together with the number, and not just with the number, assuming that it is in feet or maybe in meters. I mean, satellites crash like that. There was a satellite that crashed over Mars for this reason. So in order to avoid, oh, I didn't get the measurement units correctly, it would be better that the number that you send, the type that you send, carries its measurement unit together with the number. Once you call count, you lose that. And our tenant was right. The fact that I had count in my actual code, in the code that I provided, was wrong. Now, the reason that I had count was because I wanted to compare the result with 0. Now you can compare the result with, instead of 0, you can compare the result with 0 seconds, which is much nicer and more secure. By the way, maybe this one is fine, but the reason, once you call count, again, the code is smelly, and you just want to avoid that. So I came with, yeah, thank you. I mean, you're right. I need to change that, and I came up with the actual code that calls the comparison, but against 0 seconds. So there isn't any need to call count, which is better. And when doing so, I got the much better comment from our tenant, and saying also that I got his upvote, which of course made me quite happy. Later on, we realized, both our tenant and myself, on the same answer, that there is something else that should be fixed. But I mean, if I have to summarize, having a private tutorial with our tenant on a question in Stack Overflow is a reason to love Stack Overflow. Is a reason to say, okay, first I'm learning things here, and I have the privilege of meeting our tenant live in Stack Overflow and fixing an answer that I want to give on Chrono. Let's go through questions I'm getting back to occasionally. So I use Stack Overflow not only to look for, to ask a question or to answer a question, but in many cases I remember that I have a piece of information, a data, something that I read in Stack Overflow, and I know, okay, in order to do that, I have it in Stack Overflow. I just need 1 or 2 minutes to find it, and okay, this is the thing that I need. So I'll go through a few of those. Let's take the first one. Can using auto improve performance? Now, this is a question that I'm being asked occasionally when I teach about auto, because eventually auto is syntactic sugar. I mean, auto deduces the right type, but if you, as a programmer, is using the same exact type, then it is the same. So it is a syntactic sugar. So how come auto improve performance? And the answer is yes, it can improve performance if you do not use the proper type. So this is a very classic example that comes from a question and answer in Stack Overflow that I come to occasionally when this topic is discussed. What is wrong with this piece of code? Take a look. Maybe you can tell. Do you see here a crash? Maybe it will not compile, maybe an efficiency issue. So I will tell you, the thing is that this loop is not efficient, and the reason that it is not efficient is because while looping and we think that we get references, we actually get copies, we get a pair is being created with a new key that is being created for us and value that is being created for us as all copies. And the reason that these are all copies is we think that we get a reference to the actual object from the map, but we actually get a reference to a temporary object. And const reference can be bounded to an R value. So we are bounded to an R value. And the reason that we get a temporary object and not the original one is that when you loop, when you iterate over all values, over all pairs in map, you get back a pair of const key and value. And here we try to iterate over key and value and not const key. So the compiler sees that the type that we try to bind to is not the actual type that gets out from the iteration. The compiler is tempted to give us compilation error, but then the compiler realizes that it can actually do conversion. And the conversion is to a pair of a non-const key and value. And this conversion is valid because it will be a copy. It is valid to remove top level const because the other side just gets the value and it cannot change the original key. So since it is not the same type, there is a conversion to the type that we ask for, and the conversion creates a temporary object. And the temporary object is a copy. And for that, we have a copy of both the key and the value, which is highly inefficient, especially if the map is big. So the right thing to do is to iterate with const auto, which then deduces the right type. Of course, you could have iterate with the const key, but how many of you would remember to do that? I mean, instead of just using k, I mean, if it would have been here const k, then it would be fine, but it is much easier to remember, okay, const auto ref should be better. I mean, should be more efficient. So this is something that I'm getting back to because when I'm asked about what is the value of auto, usually I go back to this question, sharing the link with students or anybody who wants to discuss the value of using auto to improve performance. Let's take another one. The overload resolution of reference types. So we all know that you can send an object as an R value or L value or a const R value or a const L value, and you may reach a different function. I mean, this is the way that we differentiate between copy constructor and move constructor, copy assignment and move assignment. But the question is, what are the rules? How can we know which type will go where? And to present that, usually I go to, this is the case, we have several foo functions. By the way, the fourth one, do we actually need the fourth one? Usually no. Usually there isn't any reason to implement a function that expects a const R value reference. The reason is that you cannot actually move from a const R value because part of moving from is to invalidate the old value, to make sure that the old value, the old object will not try to deallocate, for example, any resource. And you cannot invalidate something that you got as const. Once you cannot invalidate it, make sure that it will not release its resources, then you cannot move the resources from this. So then the question is, okay, would there be any reason for using const R value? We'll discuss that. There is a question on that in Stack Overflow. It will be one of the next items. Anyhow, if we have all four, or maybe only the first three, how can we know who goes where? So for that, there is a table in Stack Overflow. I just go back to the table in order to recall. And the table, which appears in Stack Overflow, shows that if you're an L value, you can go either to the first one or to the second one, and there is some preferences. You will prefer one here means this is the first preference. You would prefer the first one. Why? Because you're an L value, and this is an exact match. Const L value can take you as well, but it is not exact match. I mean, if you only have the second, you will just go to the second. If you do not have first or second, then there will be compilation error because L value cannot be bounded to an R value, because L value do not want to be moved. If you're a const L value, you can go only to the second one. If you're an R value, you prefer the R value case. You can go to the const R value case, which is quite rare. Usually this fourth row will not be there because of the reason that you cannot move from a const R value. But if it is there, this is the second option. And the third option, which is quite common, is let's assume my type doesn't support R values. Oh, so there is a fallback. You can go to the const L value case, which is quite common. It seems that at least at YouTube, my presentation is gone.
Yeah, you were cut off. You were just explaining the table, the rightmost column.
Okay, so I need to share again, right?
Yes, screen sharing is gone too.
Okay, so let me find the screen sharing and I will do that. I should find it in a moment. Okay. I think that I want to share this one. We want a slideshow. And as it seems, we are back to business.
Great, thanks.
Okay, I continue. Do you see that also in YouTube? Yes, I think that we see it. Okay, so this table in a way is, I find it quite useful, and I go back to it when I either need to recall something myself or I need to explain it to students or to anybody who wants the overall resolution understanding. Let's continue. Let's see other items like implementing your own iterator class. So again, this is something that I go back to when, oh, I want to implement iterator. How can I do that? I remember that I need to implement the plus plus if I want to be for the iterator, maybe the minus minus if I have to be bidirectional, dereference, equality. Also, I need to implement type traits. So usually I go to, okay, I need to, maybe I need to inherit from stud iterator. So inheriting from stud iterator worked till C++17. Since C++17, stud iterator was deprecated. By the way, the reason it was deprecated is mainly because people got confused, assuming that any iterator must inherit from stud iterator, so we can assume that we can bound an iterator to stud iterator based on polymorphism, which is not the case. Iterators are iterators based on duck typing, on templates. They do not have to be inherited from any common class. So in order to avoid this confusion, they decided just to deprecate stud iterator, which was a utility class. It was mainly aimed in order to help you implement an iterator. But once it is not there, so how can I implement iterators? So there is a question in Stack Overflow, and the example there shows, oh, this is the way to implement it with the type traits that do not come from a base class, but you just create them. And I find myself going quite occasionally to this question when I want to present how to implement an iterator, or I actually need to implement an iterator. And the question is preparing for stud iterator being deprecated, which was asked before C++17 deprecated that, and it was known that it is going to deprecate the iterator class. So the idea is that I remember that it is there. finding it in Stack Overflow is quite easy. I can open it and you can see it there. Do you see now Stack Overflow, or on? Do you see the? I moved to Stack Overflow. No,
No,
so
I'm still seeing your slide. Now I see it.
now okay. Now I pass to the Stack Overflow question. So it is quite the question itself as some high reputation, and this is the answer that I usually go back to. In this case, by the way, the answer I know the answer because I was the one who wrote it. It is not always the case. In some cases, I'm looking for an answer that I remember, and I'm not the writer. In this case, I'm the poster of this answer, not of the question, by the way. So this was an example for a case where I want to implement iterator. Let's go back to other things that I look for in Stack Overflow. Basic questions may get beautiful answers. And this is something else that I like in Stack Overflow. I mean, in some cases, you see a basic question, and the question is quite, I know the answer, but when you look at the answer, you say, oh, this is a great answer. I like the answer. So let's take a look at an actual question that was there. Accessing unwound stack address. We all know that something wrong is wrong here. Let's assume that we have a few function that is returning the address of a local variable. Don't do that, even though it compiles. Most probably you will get an error depending on your error level. Most probably if you are working with static code analysis tool, the static code analysis tool will warn you. So don't do that. But the question in Stack Overflow was, I'm doing it, and I see that first it compiles, it works, and then I get some kind of, it prints 5 and then 8. How come did it work? The person is asking. Is it legal to use unwound stack address? And the answer, of course, is that what we see here is, we call such a thing
undefined behavior.
Undefined behavior, exactly. We see here undefined behavior. So you should not expect anything. It may be 5 and 8, it may be 8 and 8, and it might crash as well. But the beautiful answer there is talking about, suppose that you check out of your hotel room. And after checking out of your hotel room, you recall that you forgot in your room, in the drawer, you forgot a book. And you want to go back to the room to take the book. And then you recall that you actually, when you checked out, you didn't bring the key back. I mean, you have the key in your pocket. So you say, okay, I will go back to the room and I will just, quietly get into the room, take the book and get out. Nobody will notice. Now, it might be that when you try to do that, you will not be able to open the room, because in most hotels, they just change the code. So your plastic key would not work. Maybe it's not a plastic key. Maybe it's an actual key. Anyhow, it might be that you were able to open the door. The door opened. You go to the door. Would you find the book there? So in some cases, yes, you find the book. You open the book. You remember that you were at page 50. You open page 50, and it is another book. I mean, page 50 is not what you remember. It's another book because somebody got into the room, saw your book, throw it away, maybe put it in his backpack, and put in the door his own book. You cannot expect anything. It might be that you will find your book. It might be that when you step into the room, you will fall down because they're renovating the room and they decided to take off the floor. Anything can happen. And this very nice question answer is here. I will just press, maybe I'll share it with you. You should see the YouTube question. So the question got a very high reputation, even though it's, I will not say silly question, but it's a basic question. No, you're not allowed to do that. It is undefined behavior. But then the answer got a very high reputation with this hotel room story, which I like very much. It is not my answer. Somebody else wrote that, and it is very good. Okay, he is a known author. He wrote a book, I think. You should read that one. I mean, it is a nice question and a nice answer. By the way, I want also to let you know that even though this is a nice question, which got higher reputation. So the person who asked that question has higher reputation in Stack Overflow. There was a very similar question asked with a very similar code a few months before, and it was merged. It was merged to the other question that was asked later on. Usually when they merge, they try to merge the new question into the old one. Here they merge the old question to the new one because the new one got the better answer. So this
Are you still there, Amir?
it seems that my sharing was lost again. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, I will share. I will share again. I don't know the reason because I'm not pressing anything to stop that, but let me share again.
So which browser are you using? Maybe
Chrome.
Jitsi. Yeah, okay. Jitsi is actually pretty
Works
stable.
well with Chrome, I think. Anyhow, if it happens again now, I have the button ready to do that quite quickly.
Okay.
It is also interesting to play with that code. I will not have time to do that, but there is a link here. You see the ubstack address.godbolt. Do you know that when you freeze a URL from Godbolt, you can at the beginning put anything that you want. I mean, the subdomain is like yours. You can put in the subdomain. So just to remember that I'm dealing with undefined behavior stack address, I just played with that, and I have here. Maybe I can do open it for a moment, just to show you that what I wanted to have here is working also with Clang Tidy. So I have here Clang Tidy, and Godbolt allows you to open Clang Tidy as a tool. So in Clang Tidy, you see that you have a warning on returning a local variable address, which means you should use static analysis. You should read warnings. On the other end, when I ran it, I get 88, and not it was 58 what he said, but it depends on the optimization level. I think that if I change the optimization level to -0.0, then the other sanitizer throws me. For some reason, when you have -0.3, address sanitizer didn't see the issue. So let's remove the address sanitizer and the undefined sanitizer, and then the result will be 58. So you can see that undefined behavior, the result changes when you change the optimization level. We can analyze that. There is a reason. There is a reason for that that we can explain. But at the end, don't do that. I mean, don't have undefined behavior in your code. And again, static code analysis warning. In this case, both can catch you. Okay, back to the slide, and let's continue. Other iScore questions and answers. It might be that you are aware of this very famous question. A person tried to perform an operation on a big container, on many elements in a big container, and then he did it twice. Once, just running on the container. Second time, sorting the container and running on the container after sorting it. And when he benchmarked, taking into account the sort time. So it is comparing running on the container or sorting plus running on the container, performing some operation. It came out that when you sort, even if you take into account, of course, the sort time, it is still faster. And the reason is that if the operation is related to, okay, all these first should take this operation, and all these that are towards the last should take another operation, so you have code locality. And this code locality issue is being explained in this very famous question. It is both in Java and C++. It did the same for both Java, C++, and other languages in order to show that it is not specifically for one specific software language. You see here the reputation, and you see here the answer. And the answer goes with explaining how it is similar in a way to train junctions. So it is similar to train junctions in a way, if you think about branch prediction. So it relates to branch prediction, and I will let you read it later on, okay? But I'll go back to, this is a very good question and answer. You will have the links, you can go there. And branch prediction is the reason here. Let's take another one, which is quite famous. What is strange with this C++ operator? What does it do? This strange C++ operator. X to the 0, while x goes to 0. Do you know this C++ operator? So it is minus minus. It is while x minus minus is bigger than 0. Now, this is an actual question in Stack Overflow that got a very high reputation. And the answer is no, it is not a new operator. It is minus minus. Somebody just wanted to write it like that. Addressing unfavorable questions, something that I like to do. In some cases, I see a question that gets downvoted. People doesn't like, for some reason, people do not like this question, and I say, but I think that it is a valid question, so I tend to answer such questions. I will give you a few examples. So, can a class include a member of its own type? I mean, it is a decent question, and the answer is, it depends on how are you going to include a member of your own type. Can I include a concrete type? Can A aggregate an object of type A as is? And the answer is no. In C++, no, because then the size of A would explode. But on the other end, I can hold a pointer, a reference, etc. So the question, by the way, was closed. When a question is closed, you cannot answer it, okay? But I was able to answer it because I answered it before it was closed. Why it was closed? For some reason, people thought that it is not a valid C++ question. I think that even if you are not aware of, no, you cannot do that in C++ like that, but maybe you can do it in a different way. By the way, it got -3. I voted it up. So the -2 that you see here is with my vote up. But I went with a question, with an answer detailing all the options. And I felt that while I'm detailing all the options, it actually gives value not only for the original poster, but anybody who want to think, including myself, about what are the options of holding an object of your own type. What are the options? How does it affect your design? When you should do that, when you should do it differently. Then I went through, okay, there are several options here. Maybe I will click it and you will see. I will share the tab. So the original poster, the original question got the -3, as we said, but here comes my answer. And what I wanted to show is that you can hold the pointer, as said, but then maybe it would be better to hold the unique pointer if you know that you are the unique owner. And this is something that you have to take into account. But then maybe you are not the unique owner, so maybe you should hold the shared pointer. And maybe you want a weak pointer because maybe there is some kind of cycle here, and you want to avoid a cycle that will lead to a leak, if you know about the cycle of shared PTR being held by shared PTR. So I discussed all the options, and one of the options that I raised, which leads to another discussion, is you can actually hold also a reference to yourself. And I want to ask you, oh, but if you want to hold the reference to yourself, what is the problem with holding a reference to yourself? I mean, there is some kind of an issue that we need to discuss. So when you hold a reference, the reference must be initialized. The reference cannot be null. And then the question is okay, what will be the initialization? I mean, I need to initialize you with something. Oh, with some A. Okay, who would be this A? I will create A. Okay, and when you will create A, in order to initialize me with this A should also have a reference. I mean, it's a bottomless A chain. the first A should still have a reference to somebody of type A. Can you compile it? And the answer is yes, you can compile it. The first A can reference, who can I reference which is an A, even if you are the first A and I cannot use null PTR? Well, the first A can reference itself. So this is how I implement it here. I'm saying, okay, when I'm born, I can either take an A if you provide me with an A, and then my reference is referencing this A. But if not, I will reference myself. Which raises the question, is it okay to use this like that? Can a type use itself before the constructor finished? And the answer is, well, you can use yourself before the constructor finished only if you use the reference or the pointer. You cannot use the actual object because the object itself is still being born. So if you try to read something from the object is not complete. I mean, it would be undefined behavior to try to use something which is not born yet, but the address or the reference is valid. So this is a nice discussion that started with a question that somebody can just ignore. I thought that it raises some interesting discussion. Let's go back to the slides. And again, all links lead to the topics that we discuss, and we are through some, as I said, incidental explorations. Storing dynamically created objects. So there was a question asking, how should I store objects in a vector? As pointers or as actual objects, concrete objects? Now, it depends. As usually, the answer is it depends. So people didn't like this question because people in Stack Overflow don't like questions which are not complete, which do not give you the entire context. And I said, okay, I can provide the context in the answer. And I went to this question and said, okay, you can take it to all different in all different angles, like stack versus heap. Why should I prefer stack over heap? In which cases would I prefer heap? And it takes us also to the questions of value semantics. For polymorphism, one of the reasons to have a vector of pointers and not a vector of actual types is polymorphism. I want a vector of shapes, but shape can be a rectangle, a triangle, etc. So in order to accommodate all possible types, I may use a vector of shape star. Because if it is a vector of shape, then maybe shape is even an abstract class. I cannot use the derived. I tend to say, okay, it might be better to go with value semantics and create something of type shape holder and say, okay, I want a vector of shape holder. And shape holder is a concrete type. When you copy it, it copies the shape. It does not copy the pointer. I want to think about value semantics. Why? Because it is less bug prone. And then my container can hold these shape holders. And a shape holder hides the polymorphism inside itself. So this came into the discussion here, which brings to the idea of why value semantics should be considered and what are the advantages of value semantics, which is in a way an answer of, should we use a pointer? What does it mean to use a pointer? If we are using polymorphism, is it mandatory to work with a pointer? Not necessarily. Might be that the pointer will be there, but it might be that it will be hidden from the user. And it might be that I will implement a clone function, etc. So again, it starts with a question, and then the discussion in some cases is much wider. I do see that there are some comments in the chat, but I don't see something that I can react to now. Occasionally, I'm answering my own questions, which is a common practice in Stack Overflow. Now, the reason to answer your own questions usually is I want to document something for myself. I came into some conclusion, I was exploring something, but I want to remember it. So one way to remember it is to write a blog. Another way to remember it is to say, okay, let's ask a question in Stack Overflow, let's answer it. It will also assist others who may find themselves facing the same issue. So I'll give you a few examples. Using concepts for functions to overload resolution instead of sphere. So when I explored C+20 concepts, I wanted to see how can I use concepts, and okay, I have a few examples, but there weren't too many examples back then because concepts were new, and I wanted to